I've been getting sick, but I've only been getting sick during the week. And so
I get sick on the weekends.
See, I went to the doctor and he said I must have a weakened immune system. So, welcome into Brothers Know Best. This is episode 3. We've actually made it to episode 3, something that none of us thought would be possible, but we are here, and we are just 3 brothers trying our best. So I'm John. This is Michael. This is Daniel. If you're tuning in for the first time, we just tell stories. We talk about the best things that we've seen this week, or the best things that we've eaten, or any, whatever we want to talk about. And so I'm excited today because we have 3 very good topics for you, in my opinion. Do y'all think they're good, or is it just me?
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. But I thought our tagline was 3 brothers giving you our best. But you just said we're 3 brothers trying our best, which is probably a better, more fitting tagline.
Yeah, I think just my life right now is, just trying my best.
I'm just trying my best.
I'm just
I'm
trying
in this
my best.
podcast fighting for my life.
Oh, that's been Daniel's entire life, his entire relationship with us.
Survive in advance, baby.
Survive in advance. Well, if you're listening for the first time, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. Give it a like. Whatever you guys do on the internet these days, we'd really appreciate it. All right, we're going to jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about best thing that happened in sports. We're going to talk about the best dog we've ever had. So get your tissues ready, and then best karaoke song. So if you're wondering if you should listen to the end of this, my advice is probably not, but at least listen through the dog segment. At least listen to us talk about our best dogs. So best thing that happened in sports this week. We always start with it because we're sports guys and we enjoy talking about sports. So I'm going to let Michael go first. Michael, tell us the best thing that happened in sports this week.
Well, the best thing that happened in sports this week was Georgia Tech and Miami for the second year in a row. This is why it was so great. I don't know why I love to see Miami collapse. It's just something in me. I just love to see it, especially with Mario Cristobal coaching. It could be that I live in Oregon and there's like a lot of bad blood with Cristobal in Oregon, so I've kind of inherited that. But what was so great about this, Georgia Tech upset Miami this weekend for the second year in a row. And if you remember last year, it was the infamous just kneel the ball. But they ran the ball with 30 seconds left on the clock or whatever, fumbled, Georgia Tech recovers, kicks a field goal, wins. And then to watch Brent Key and that Georgia Tech team just manhandle Miami this past weekend was just a delight. It was
this year it basically ended on a fumble also. Miami had the ball late, fumbled it away.
Yeah.
But they needed points this year. They needed to drive and win this year. But
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, you can tell that Michael has lived in Oregon for a long time when he starts with the best thing in sports is something related to Georgia Tech doing something good. Because I still live in the Atlanta area and I'm a Georgia fan, and you can't get me to say good things about Georgia Tech, but we're going to let Michael take it because that, if you love sports, it was a good thing to see.
It's also personal. My father-in-law is an old school Georgia Tech fan. I mean, diehard for decades. And so we talked Saturday morning, and I said something about Georgia Tech might do it today. And he gave me the classic, oh, no, don't talk crazy, whatever, and just completely dismissed it. And then later that afternoon, it was like, they did it. So,
yeah, it's crazy because my neighbor is an Ole Miss graduate, and,
they also did it.
They also did it. And I was like, Lane Kiffin might do it today. And I didn't believe it, but
but he did.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that anymore.
All right. Daniel, what was your best thing that happened in sports this week?
All right. So if Michael couldn't start us off any worse, I can just make it worser. Because
worser? I'm going to make it worser.
That's right. Georgia fans tune out again but Bama rolling LSU at night in Baton Rouge. Guys, the classic, their mantra is where opponents' dreams come to die. And if you play in the Bayou at night, you're dead. Well, a team did essentially die Saturday night, but it wasn't the opposing team. It was the home team. Guys, they gave up over 300 yards rushing. Somebody can run a stat on that. When is the last time LSU gave up 300 yards rushing at night at home? That's insane. Kudos to Bama, just absolutely rolling them. Oh man,
it felt like 275 of those yards was Jalen Milroe running to the end zone.
It was. It was.
Yeah,
getting in there, man.
Yeah, no, and you had College Game Day at LSU, and you had Pat McAfee. Like, if you watch, like, he was getting that crowd all riled up, like, all morning. I mean, just set the entire stage. They had LSU had the governor with the controversy where he brought the live tiger on the sideline. Yes. And people were losing their mind because it was like a live tiger from Florida or something, because they didn't want to bring like Mike the Tiger, who's literally 100 yards outside the stadium, into the stadium for whatever reason. And people were losing their minds over that. Like, the whole scene, just a wild circus. And for Alabama to go in and just absolutely dominate. I have a friend, shout out to my buddy Matt, who's an Alabama fan. And he texted me, they call Death Valley Bryant Denny West, which is Alabama's, football stadium. They call it Bryant Denny West. And he was like, Bryant Denny West. He's like, Bryant Denny West is alive and well. And I thought, man, that was pretty savage.
Salt in the wound.
Yeah, salt in the wound. All right.
What did they won 12 of the last 14 or something like that? Or 10 of the last 12? I can't remember. But Alabama has dominated
something. So Alabama dominating LSU. Another good thing in sports. I'm going to stay with college football. I'm going to go to what has been known as a blue blood in college football. Like, everybody knows, the Indiana Hoosiers.
Football.
Football. They're blue blood in basketball. Yeah.
It's not basketball season yet.
Don't tell that to Mike White. Don't tell that to Georgia and Mike White out there beating people. But
Here we go.
But Indiana football. Curt Cignetti. Okay, I don't know if you guys know about Curt Cignetti, you folks listening, but if you don't, Curt Cignetti is a guy who took this Indiana job. He was at James Madison before this, won a bunch of games at James Madison, took this Indiana job, which is one of the worst jobs in college football. Like, it's not the kind of job that college football coaches are aspiring to. I want to be the head coach at Indiana. Mm-hmm. And this guy, in his introductory press conference, they asked him, what do you tell recruits who, to convince them to come play at Indiana, which is traditionally a basketball school. They don't win a lot in football. They said, what do you tell these recruits in order to try to get them to come to Indiana? And he said, I win. Google me. So what the guy said is opening day. This guy comes into Indiana and he's saying, I win, Google me. And you know what he's done? He's done nothing but win. That dude, Indiana, 10-0, ranked number 5 in the country, 10-0 for the first time in program history. And the best thing this weekend was not them beating Michigan to go 10-0. It was after the game, Curt Cignetti, the head coach, is on the sideline with a reporter. And they're talking, she said, what does it feel like to make history? She asked him a question. And he said, he kind of looks up at the scoreboard and looks back at her and he goes, what are we, 10-0? And she said, you're 10-0 for the first time in program history. And he just looks at her and he goes, not bad. And he just walks off. That for me, Curt Cignetti is the guy's a whole vibe.
What are we, 10-0?
You are 10-0 for the first time in program history, Coach.
Not bad.
Indiana undefeated. They're obliterating. I mean, the game of Michigan was close this weekend, but they're scoring like 40 points a game. They're winning games. They beat Nebraska like 56-7. They're just beating people like a drum, and Curt Cignetti is just living his best life. So shout out to Curt Cignetti. Shout out to Indiana. Yeah. Indiana plays Ohio State in 2 weeks, and I mean, I think Indiana might beat Ohio State. For me, as a Georgia fan, especially because we ain't playing good football right now, I don't want any part of Indiana in a college football playoff, especially like in the first game. But it's going to be wild. It is going to be wild to see like Ole Miss or Alabama or Tennessee or Georgia have to go play at Indiana in the college football playoff. That will be the wildest scene. Because I don't think Indiana's losing more than one. So
how many people does their stadium hold, do you think?
Oh gosh. Let me look it up actually.
They'll be 37,000 strong, it will be the loudest environment. When Alabama walks in there, it will be the loudest environment in college football.
So Indiana, their stadium holds 52,626. So to give you perspective, LSU Death Valley holds 102,000 people. It is almost literally twice the size. Bryant-Denny Stadium, 101,000 people. Yeah. Sanford Stadium, Georgia, 93,000 people.
Yeah. I think Neyland's over 100.
Yeah. Tennessee, 101,000 people. So I don't know. Like basically going up to Indiana to play a college football playoff game would be wild. So shout out to Kurt Signetti. Keep it rolling. Love, I think Georgia's playing so poorly that I might just be an Indiana fan for the rest of the year. So,
where do I sign?
Go Hoosiers. All right. Enough about that. Enough about sports. We're going to get to what the people really want to hear, which is our sappy stories about the best dog we've ever had. Who wants to go first? I need one of you guys to go first and tell me your story because I want to see somebody cry.
Daniel's literally shaking his head no.
All right, Michael.
The man's already on the brink. Man,
you got to go first.
All right, I'll go first. Because my best dog is just on the other side of this door over here because he lays right there. When I close my office door, he will lay on that right outside waiting on me all day if that's what it takes. So I've got a black lab. His name is Maddox after Greg Maddox, legendary Braves pitcher. And I got a black lab because I haven't in a couple of years, but I used to duck hunt up here in Oregon, and I wanted a retriever to go get the ducks. And let me tell you about this guy. He is a machine. I've seen this guy retrieve 21 ducks with a three-man hunt. You can shoot up to 7 ducks, and he got all 21 of them. Just a workhorse. But my favorite story, what makes him an epic dog, is we were hunting on the Columbia River one day. And if you don't know much about the Columbia, it's like the Mississippi River, just runs, east to west across the top of Oregon. Massive, massive river, biggest river west of the Mississippi. And so we're out hunting on the Columbia, and I'm out with 2 of my buddies, and we winged a duck. So shot, duck goes down, but still kicking, still swimming, and starts swimming away from us out toward the river. And we were like in this little shallow, peaceful part of the river, but the duck starts going toward the channel where it's real choppy. And so my buddy Craig goes out to finish the duck off, and he takes 10 steps out of the blind, and Maddox breaks and goes after him and gets past Craig. And so now Craig can't shoot because the dog's out between him and the duck. And so we're yelling for Maddox to come back. Well, this guy is he smells it. He wants that duck so bad. And so he gets out over like this little eddy out into the channel and starts swimming after this duck. And we're screaming, we're whistling, we're trying to call him back, won't come back. And we watch him, and we can barely see the other side of the river. It's so wide. And he just keeps going and going and going and chasing this duck. And I keep looking at my buddy, and all I can think is, there goes my dog. Like, I'm going to go home and explain to my kids, we lost Maddox in the Columbia today. And man, he's like out of sight for 10 minutes. And we're just walking up and down the bank looking for him. And then all of a sudden you see a little head coming back, being pushed down the river. So we run down the bank, and that boy swims all the way back, and we measured it. And even if he only made it like 3/4 of the way across the river, he swam a full mile in this massive river because he's just so driven. Didn't get the duck, so disappointed, but he was just crushing it. And then right back to the blind, and he just sat there and looked at me like, let's go again. So fantastic dog. Love him to death.
What if you had to describe Maddox, if he were a human, what kind of personality? Like, how would you describe Maddox? Describe him as a man.
Yeah. I would say Maddox is he's a loyal accountant. That's how I would describe him. So he's your best friend. Like he wants to hang out with me all the time, but he also gives me this look all the time. Like, don't waste my time. Like if we're going outside, you're throwing a ball, right? Don't bring me out here and just let me stand around in the yard like wasting time. Like he's all about his business, like an accountant. I got to get work done. Don't call me just to talk. And so this he's a worker.
Opie is the same way.
Is that right?
You just open the door to let him out, and he comes back in. And he's like, "Where are you at? What are you doing?" It's like,
I love it.
okay,
I love
Mr.
it.
Accountability.
Well, shout out to Maddox. When I was in Oregon this summer, staying with Michael for a few days, I stood out there and threw the ball with Maddox, and I can tell you that dude, he would not relent. I literally was like, I couldn't wear him out. I was like, dude, you got to stop. Like I'm afraid that your heart is just going to explode because you will just not stop. So love that dog.
Mad dog.
All right, I'll go next. When we were, gosh, I guess this has been a long time ago. Okay, so I'll be fully transparent. I have never owned a dog in my since I left mom and dad's house. So in the second half of my life, I've never owned a dog outside of living with my parents. But when we lived in Subligna, in the middle of nowhere, so y'all just look up Subligna, Georgia, if you want to know.
Google it.
Google it if you want to know, like if you want to know where we come from. It's real country. We literally lived our house. You go at the foot of this mountain. There's 2 gas stations. You turn right and you drive 12 miles, and that's where our house was. 12 miles from the closest gas station. And we used to. Do y'all remember when we used to ride the riding lawnmower to the general store, which was like a mile down the street? And that thing, I mean, it would take us half an hour to get to the friggin' store on a riding mower. I don't know why we didn't ride bikes. Did we not have bikes? We could have walked.
We rode bikes a few times. Come on.
We could have walked to that store faster than we rode.
No. I specifically remember Michael or Dad riding the lawnmower to the church, which was another 3 or 4 miles.
Dude, and that lawnmower could not have gone. That thing could not have gone more than 5 miles an hour. That thing. I mean, it was. And when we put like 2 of us on there weighing it down, geez, we were crazy. But anyway, middle of nowhere, we lived in Subligna, Georgia. We had a dog named Scooter. And Scooter was the best dog that I have ever had, that I think we have ever had. We've had some good dogs, but Scooter was a miniature Dachshund. He was a little tiny wiener dog. And that dude had more energy than any dog I've ever seen in my life. I don't want to make it sound like we were cruel to the dog, because we were not. We loved that dog. The dog loved us. But do you guys remember we had a ball that he would play with, and we'd stick the thing, like we'd stick the ball in between the door jamb. So we'd stick the ball like in the top of the door jamb, and that dude would lose his mind. Like he'd stare at it, he'd run around in a circle, he would paw like he was trying to get the ball. Just tons of energy. I think if I had to describe Scooter as a human, I think Scooter was probably like a middle school boy that hadn't been diagnosed with like ADHD yet. Was just literally, because he was just tiny, like so full of energy, and such a wonderful dog. And he used to jump up on the bed and would like nuzzle himself like under the covers, and it would drive me crazy. But I miss it. So Scooter taught me. I think the one thing that Scooter taught me was just like, just how simple fun could be. Like, I think, sometimes like we lived in the middle of nowhere, and there wasn't a lot to do, and we were kids, and our parents worked, and so we were at home a lot of the time by ourselves. Latchkey kids back in the day, and I think just the simplicity of throwing a ball or running around, or just even just like sitting there on the floor, like playing with a dog. He taught me just like fun doesn't have to be complicated. You can have a lot of enjoyment in life and just very, very simple things. So shout out to Scooter. He was the first dog that I ever cried over because Scooter.
You guys remember the day
we
lost Scooter.
I vividly remember the day we lost Scooter. So Scooter.
That is childhood trauma for us, no doubt.
Yeah. Scooter got hit by a car. He was there was a dog across the street that was in heat that Scooter was trying to. It's a tale as old as time, guys. It's a tale as old as time.
We've all been there.
They got him.
He was chasing something and it got him. And that's another life lesson that Scooter taught me is that you got to be careful because chasing skirts it will get you. But that day, I'm not trying to make light of Scooter's demise, but that day was like we all stayed home from school. We buried Scooter. We cried. Like my dad cried, mom cried. Like we were crying. It was a very, very awful day when we lost Scooter. But man, love that dog.
Yeah, Scooter was a family member. If you consider yourself a dog person, you remember your dogs as you talk about them as family members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yep, that was Scooter. All right, Daniel, best dog you ever had?
All right. Well, Opie is upstairs. I had to move him upstairs, especially because of this segment. Because he would
you
just
don't
be
want him hearing this.
Yeah,
you don't want him hearing.
And I call him Little Ope. I love Little Ope, but he is not my favorite. My favorite was a boy. I had my heart set on a dog. I was like 19 years old, and I was searching for a dog. I was searching for a chocolate lab. That's what I wanted. I guess that's what I thought I wanted in my mind. And I'd convinced myself to go to the shelter. And I said, I'm just going to browse. I'm just going to see what's there. See what's, just see what I can find. See if I can find a chocolate lab there. Who knows? And I vividly remember the day. And this really is one of my favorite stories. I walk in and I have no intentions of looking for anything other than a chocolate lab. And I go, it's like 3 or 4 pins down, they have them in there. And there is this little boy back there, and he is in the corner, and he is, he's all bent up and he's got his head down, and we lock eyes, man. And when I tell you we lock eyes, that was the moment. And I look at the lady working at the shelter, and I was like, hey, that's my dog. Those are my exact words. That's my dog. And she was like, okay, well, he's, he won't be available till tomorrow because we're running tests and doing some things. So make sure he doesn't have any diseases, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, so what time tomorrow can I come get him? She said, we open at 8. Y'all, I was there at 6:30 because it's like first come, first serve. I didn't have anything to do the next day. I was there at 6:30. And I remember at 8, she came and unlocked the door and she was like, you can come get your dog. And I took that boy home, and he was 33 pounds. I remember if you're a dog person, they're family. So just like I remember my kids' weight, I remember my dog's weight. He was 33 pounds. I took him to the vet. So I've tried to feed him, and he doesn't want to eat. And I think, well, maybe he's depressed. And so I take him to the vet because you're supposed to have him checked up. And I asked the vet, I'm like, this dog won't eat. Like, he's like, well, what are you feeding him? And I tell him, some dry food, like big food. Cause he's a big dog. He's 33 pounds. And he said, well, this dog's only like 3 months old. He doesn't have any teeth to eat. Like, you have to buy him some softer food. Cause he can't, he just can't eat it.
That is a big dog. Oh, big dog for 3 months old.
Yeah. So top weight, he got to about 125 pounds.
Wow.
He was an English, he was a Mastiff mixed with a Rottweiler. He was a beautiful dog, and he was the gentlest giant you would ever see. The UPS drivers, FedEx drivers would come up. They won't even get out of the truck because they see Hank out there just holding the fort down. He's like I would liken him to like Andy Griffith on the Andy Taylor on the Andy Griffith show. He's like the high sheriff, but he's not going to hurt anybody. He's just here to keep the peace and not here to cause any trouble. He's just here to make sure everybody's good. And that was his personality. And I could tell story after story. My favorite, another favorite story is I would come home from work and he would have all my clothes in a ring and he would just be laid down in that ring. And I just, that's just man's best friend. That's the only way to put it. That boy, we were like this. He knew me, I knew him. And just, I guess, to make it a little funny, my wife, she used to give me a hard time. She would say, you love the dog more than you love me. I'd say, well, when I tell him to come here, he'll come here. When I tell him like, okay, like I need my space, he'll give me some space. He only really bothers me when it's time to eat. And, like when I come home, he's happy to see me. So what more could you ask for? You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. That was my boy. And I am not too man enough to admit that the day he passed away, I had to call my dad to come and help me bury him because that's top 5 worst day of my life when I lost that dog. Top 5 worst day. And I've had some bad days. That was one of them. So,
well, we'll talk about the loss a little bit because I do want to dig into that. But first, what you told your wife, in the words of our good friend John Powell, I don't know if I'd have said that. I don't know. I mean, like, man, that's tough.
Are we gonna do my man's marriage a solid and just cut that out of this episode? Or are we leaving it?
Who's gonna cut it out?
No. We've had that conversation.
No, it's on there. It's on there. We're not.
She is totally aware of my feelings.
We're gonna cut it out and we're gonna post it as its own clip. So everybody get ready for that. Dana, so are we gonna? I do want to know. We will talk about the loss because I know how much you loved Hank, and we all loved Hank. That boy was a gentle giant. Is a great way to put it. Are we gonna skip over the part of where you almost got kicked out of the house because Hank was stinking it up so bad when you were in the mansion and brought Hank home? Or is that?
I did try to skip over that, but he did. He did lay a few bombs that got me in some hot water. But
yeah, Dado when he got Hank, first of all, he got a 33-pound, 3-month-old giant dog. Took it into a house where y'all are living with a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, there were 8 of us.
And you lived eight of you, and you lived in the top of basically like the 3rd or 4th floor. And so potty training was not
a nightmare.
A little bit of a challenge.
An absolute nightmare. You had to go down 3 flights of stairs just to take him outside to pee or poop, whatever. So sometimes we didn't make it.
many times. So I've heard. What's the most important thing what did Hank teach you? Like, what's the most important thing Hank taught you about life?
Man, just unconditional love. Really. I know that's so cliche, but that dog, he would follow you. Talk about Maddox, like waiting out by the door. That dog would wait for me hand and foot anywhere I went. The dog would get car sick every time we rode anywhere or went anywhere. So I got to where I just wouldn't take him. And then it got to where he would just look at me and just beg to go. And I'm like, I know you're going to get sick. I know it's going to, probably be a messy situation, but still, like, the heartbreak on his face if I left without him was not worth it. So some days I'm just like, let's just go. Like, we'll just deal with it. And I had a 95 Tahoe, and you just raised the back lid on that thing, and he would just stick his head out, and he loved it. That was my boy. That's my boy. I love you, Ope. That's my boy.
I love it.
Have you guys seen that meme of like, the dog is dead asleep, and then it says, me literally stands up, and my dog, you son of a gun, I'm in. Let's go. That's my
Yep.
You son of a gun. Let's go.
I love it. Well, shout out to all dog people. And shout out to Kirk Herbstreit. The reason that we want to talk about best dogs this week is because Kirk Herbstreit lost Ben. If you watch college football, if you watch College Game Day, you know that Ben Herbstreit was the dog of college football, and was really sad to see Kurt lose Ben to cancer this week. So shout out to all dog owners, dog lovers. I mean, they do teach us so much. And I think you're right, Daniel. I think man's best friend is an understatement for most dogs, not all dogs.
Not all.
We could tell some stories about some dogs that were not necessarily man's best friend.
Matter of fact, may I tell one?
Go for it.
So Michael, guys, you should look at the screen where Michael is placed right now and just be so happy, because we used to have a dog and it was our dad's dog. And he was let me tell you, he was a great dog. He was abused as a puppy. A lady reached out and said, "Hey, would you like a dog? Like we have to get rid of him. We have to rehome him." And Dad was like, "Sure, we've already got dogs." And if you ever know our story, dogs just show up like at our house. They just magically appear. People would dump dogs out of our house. We would just raise them, feed them, take care of them until their dying day, really. Mm-hmm. And so this was one of the dogs that we rehomed, and he was a little skittish around kids. And now Michael wasn't really a kid, but the emphasis there is on skittish. So if you were to maybe sneak up on him or scare him in some kind of way, he might retaliate. Yep. And I specifically remember one day Michael spooked him or something. I don't think it obviously wasn't intentional. And that dog turned around and thank Michael's 3 kids. If you're listening, you should thank your dad for having such cat-like reflexes, because where that dog made contact on his jeans, they might not be here today. Yeah. I'm just saying that was a moment.
He ripped the crotch of those jeans wide open.
Wide open.
Man, I remember the feeling. I remember the feeling. Like,
you remember the cold sweat?
I remember the cold sweat.
It was so bad, I got a cold sweat for Michael. I was like, wow.
Incredible. All right, let's talk about our last topic for this week. Karaoke songs. I don't know how this came up. I don't know how we landed on karaoke songs. I don't know why we're talking about karaoke songs, but I have never been more excited to talk about anything in my life than I am to talk about karaoke. So I'm just saying, like, I'm pumped. Tell me first of all, like, some of your best experiences or maybe worst experiences with karaoke. Like, what do you like? I want to hear some karaoke stories before we talk about songs.
I could listen to Daniel talk about his dog all day, and I'm not kidding about that. I love it. I wish you'd tell more Hank stories. But Daniel's got to talk more in this segment too, because only one of us is the king of the Mexican restaurant karaoke circuit of North Georgia. And it ain't me, and it ain't you, John.
All right. You got to tell people what that means, though. Like, we know what that means.
So it's me.
No, it's you.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you're the only one who has multiple karaoke stories at Mexican restaurants.
I got a few. I've been around a little bit. I've got a few stories. One of my favorite stories was, I used to be a young dude. Used to be a teenage dude. You know, when you're a teenage dude, you do teenage dude things. And so there was a Mexican restaurant in Rome that used to do karaoke, weekly karaoke. And John was there. I wasn't able to drive it. I don't really remember. I think John was still my chauffeur at that point. So we stopped and ate Mexican, and I was like, "Dude, they're doing karaoke tonight." And he was like, "Dude, like, do a song." Like, he's always like pushing you out there, like, go do one, sign up, let's go. And so I'm looking around, and as a young teenage boy, there's younger, females there, and I'm like, okay, like I could do a song, whatever. So I pick out a song. And all of a sudden, like, these people just get up and start leaving. And about the time they're leaving, they call my name to do karaoke. And I'm like, This place is empty now. Like, there's nobody here to do karaoke for. Like, why would I even do it if there's nobody here? You know, that's the whole point of it.
What's the point?
So my brother, my lovingly good older brother, he's like, bro, I got you. I got your back. He goes out in the parking lot and he's like, hey, come back in. My brother's gonna do a song. It's a fun song. You can dance, you can do whatever. Like, blah, blah. I don't really know exactly what all he told him. He brought all those people back in so I could do the dip. Freak nasty the dip. That was it. That was the song, y'all. And it's now, what's funny is it's trending on TikTok now. And that was my jam back in the day. That was my jam. Michael's gone.
Incredible.
We've lost Michael.
Does that song have a melody?
I mean, not really. It's a rhythm. It's just a rhythm and rhyme. You don't always need a melody.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
You got a hype man, first of all. Way to go, John Smith. I don't know if you've ever been a hype man for me.
Listen, if you can't be a hype man for your brothers, then like who can you be a hype man for?
Who can you do it for?
There you go. Yeah. Actually, you have been a hype man for me. We'll save that story for some other time. But the dip of all the songs you could have named, man, did not expect that one. Brilliant. So we haven't. That's not
your best karaoke song?
Right?
Like, let's get back on that.
That's not my best karaoke song.
So why don't you go ahead and go?
Great story, by the way. Great story.
So digging into karaoke, there's certain things that make karaoke special. Like, right? Like, there's the ones who totally get up there and humiliate themselves. Like, that's entertaining. It kind of gets boring after a few minutes, but like for the moment, it's like, okay, that's funny. But the people who get up there and just like almost nail the original song, you're like, man, that's great. So it's, like the tempo's got to be right. There's certain criteria you have to meet. There's a whole list there. The tempo, like you got to have crowd involvement. You got to have some clapping. You got to have some, something in the chorus where the crowd can get involved. It's got to be in your vocal range. You could get into all the techniques of it. But my go-to song when it's karaoke night and, I'm in the mood and everything's feeling just right. Back in 1993, a young man with a mullet and a mustache released a song called Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox. And I love it. That's my jam right there. That is my jam. That is my go. When all else fails, that is my jam.
Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox by Joe Diffie. Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox by Joe Diffie. Why? So you gave all that criteria. Like what's the main draw for Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox?
Oh, I don't know. It's
a banger. Find me somebody who doesn't love that song.
Yeah, everybody knows it. The lyrics are easy. Even if people are half drunk or they're just fully gone, you still know the lyrics. There are certain songs that you just always know the lyrics to, and so the crowd they get it. They can jump in and sing and jump off for a minute, jump back in. Perfect karaoke song. Perfect.
Does it start slow and then?
Yes, it starts off like a ballad, and then it jumps into the chorus, and it is honky tonk country till the day you die, brother.
That's one option. That's a path you can go with karaoke, man. If you've got that's friends in low places. That's a good one. It's a ballad intro, but then when it hits. The other direction to go is it's just got to be. I mean, it's got to come out of the gates like strong. And so my go-to karaoke song is the other. It's from the first notes. I mean, you're either in it or you're out. And that is Keep Your Hands to Yourself by the Georgia Satellites. Ooh. Man, that one, within 3 seconds if the crowd's going to be in it with you or not. Oh, because I got a little change in my pocket going jing-a-ling-a-ling. And you hit that and either they're in or they're out. You know what I'm saying? And then you get the yodel.
You going to give us the yodel? I'm waiting for it.
Oh, man. That stuff, it crushes if you've got the right vibe, the right atmosphere.
I remember you doing that. I remember you doing that song one time. I think the only thing you had trouble with was that 32 measure break.
Oh, That is, I was going to bring that up. It's seriously, it's a litmus test for the karaoke atmosphere, because
Sure.
if the atmosphere is right, people are going to be shredding the dance floor in that
Sure.
32 measure dance break. If they're not, it's the longest dance break of your life. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I was
Just
about to
standing
say,
up there with nothing to do.
what do you do during the dance during the 32 measure break? Like, what is
You
the strategy?
You wait 16 bars, and then on the karaoke screen it pops up, "Go man go," and you just got to drop the "Go man go," and then the guitar keeps going.
I love it.
That's all you do.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna take a total left turn because you guys, you stayed in kind of the country, like Daniel's a country song, Michael's is kind of classic rockish, country-ish, which would be from where we're from and how we're raised. That feels like it'd be your go-to karaoke song, unless you're doing the dip in a Mexican restaurant somewhere.
Man of the people,
for a group of people,
man of all people.
But y'all, listen. Daniel, your criteria is right on. Like you have to find a song that people are gonna, get into. Like you said, Michael, like in it, you find a song that you're either in it or you're out from the very beginning, from the first note. Daniel, find a song that just like has that groove, has that kind of universal appeal. The song is easy, guys. You don't think of it because of us being three middle-aged dudes, dude dads. But the song is "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston. Like that's the song, and the reason it's the best karaoke song is number one, it's a total surprise. Like people don't expect you especially when you're as ugly as we are, like getting up there with a microphone, like all of a sudden you're going to do that one. And it has all the elements of like, it starts the first note. It's like, just those drums coming in and the horns. Yeah. And the horns and everything. You also have like a little call and response with somebody, somebody,
Yeah.
You got that going on.
Is that a yodel? Is that
it's a little bit of a yodel. So you got that going on. Yeah. And this, I want to feel the heat. You got that going on. You hold that heat note, like you can do a little bit of falsetto. And you got those like dynamic notes of when the night falls, my loneliness calls. That whole situation. So I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. And here's what's so crazy about that song. Here's what's crazy about that song, okay? If you just do it in the original key with our voices and our registers, it actually works. It does. You should try it. You're clearly singing like an octave lower than like what she was singing. And when she hit some of those high notes, probably multiple octaves lower than what she's singing.
I would say two.
I mean, two, yes, at least. But man, it's not that bad. If you have that kind of like dude baritone voice, you can make it happen. I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. Get everybody going. It's a great one. Does anybody have like
a crowd pleaser?
Crowd pleaser. Does anybody have runner-ups? Because what we're going to do is we're going to put a poll out and we're going to have people, vote on these. So we'll try to we'll put multiples out if you want. But anybody have a runner-up for best karaoke song?
I've got one, but this is not for the faint of heart. Do not try this if it's your first time at karaoke. Okay.
Yeah.
This takes some skill. You got to be a specialist if you're going to do this. But 2007, my wife and I drove down to Statesboro, Georgia for a wedding. And then we decided we'd stay the night and drive on down to Savannah and spend a day or two in Savannah and just hang out. Turns out, actually, while we were there, Kelly reminded me today, John, you were in Savannah the same day.
I was there. And I was at this karaoke.
Oh, you came to the karaoke? Okay.
Yes, I was there.
We debated that. Kelly and I debated that. I was like,
I was there in the little like the Irish like pub situation.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there.
Savannah 2K7. Please don't tell Kelly. She'll never let it go. She was 100% right. But anyway, my buddy Josh, y'all know Josh, roommate. We went to karaoke and Josh signs up to go up on stage and he won't tell anybody what he's doing. And so we're eagerly awaiting, Josh's turn. Mm-hmm. And he walks up on stage and this place is packed. And I mean, it is lit. People are the vibe is right. Let me tell you.
We call that primed and ready.
And Josh starts Rapper's Delight.
Oh,
And,
So good.
and listen, there's a radio edit,
Mhm.
and then there's like a full length, like total production edit that references, I think it has like fast, like candy references in it or something. I don't remember all the, just goes crazy. Josh, it's like a 7-minute song.
Mhm.
And Josh stands up there on stage and does this entire song. And I don't think he looked at the monitor a single time. I mean, it was absolutely internalized from the hip hop, hibbity the hibbity. He starts there and goes for 7 minutes, and it just brought the house down. I was like, good Lord. So, I mean, if you're a brave soul and you can deliver, that's your jam.
that is expert level, my friend.
Sugar Hill Gang.
Sugar Hill Gang. Daniel, you got any runner-ups?
Yeah, I do have a runner-up. My kids actually prefer the karaoke version of that Michael did at the lake a couple of years ago of "Living on a Prayer"
Ooh.
by Bon Jovi.
Ooh.
My kids prefer that version. If we listen to that song, they're like, "Dad, can you pull up the video of Michael doing that? We'd rather hear that."
wait. So your kids want to listen to Uncle Michael singing "Living on
over
a
John
Prayer"
Bon. That's
over
correct.
John Bon Jovi.
That's correct.
Wow.
They call me the Bon Jovi of Southeast Portland. So,
I mean, that's high praise.
Should we? I mean, my kids asked me today, were we going to talk about the lake house on this episode?
Sure.
So it's worth mentioning. We've done it twice now, but we're trying to build a tradition of going to a lake house every summer, get all the kids there, or every other summer, and just partying and hanging out. And the tradition that just started on a whim, the first time we did this was the last night we're there, we have a karaoke night. Just
like a sing-off. Yep.
Oh man. And it is lit. It is incredible every time. And I got to tell you, the first time, like, we had fun and Papa J brought the house down with his Elvis.
Yeah, he did.
But this last time, our kids were like, we'll take the keys. Thanks.
We got it.
Y'all have a seat and watch this.
Because we have teenagers now, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think we covered half of Hamilton. We
So
did
much.
Another half were Disney's.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Way to go, kids.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I think what was besides Hamilton, like what was some of the songs that the kids sang that I thought was really good?
Well, yeah, Michael's daughter sings "Almost There" from Princess and the Frog.
That's
a
a
great one.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
Claire does my youngest daughter. She does that Moana song. "Shiny" was one of them.
She's so
shiny. Yeah, that's so good.
That's her jam. That's her jam. That's it.
I love it.
Shiny.
Karaoke, man. Can't beat it. I don't have a runner-up song. I think for me, like, we listed some of them. Like, I think "Friends in Low Places" is probably a good one. I do think that if somebody said, like, you can't sing, I want to dance with somebody, I would probably, I think Bohemian Rhapsody is one that's like very difficult, very long, but it's a good one anytime. Yeah. And let's be honest, like, boy band songs at karaoke kill. If you're singing "Bye Bye Bye" or "I Want It That Way" at karaoke night, you're
tell me why
you're a winner.
Hey, can I take us off the rails for one more second?
Go.
We didn't talk about this, but what's the worst? Like, if we were given advice on karaoke, which kind of it is, if you're saying this is the best karaoke song, what do you avoid? And I'll just start and say, like, don't go with Jewel. I get Jewel had some great hits in the 90s. They're just never gonna hit a karaoke.
No, Jewel was she was for the single young person who had just lost the love of their life, who's crying in the bathroom with a cup of coffee, and that's
not the karaoke vibe you're going for.
Yeah, there are some songs that I think people think they get up there to sing karaoke and they think like, oh, I'm going to sing a sweet song for my significant other who's here.
No,
never. Don't do that. Don't be singing.
do it.
Don't be trying to sing. Don't be trying to serenade your man or your woman at karaoke night when everybody's there having a good time and you're getting up there and and singing Jewel or singing Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. Like any of
It's
the
Your
any
Love.
Tim,
It's
yeah,
Your
It's
Love.
Your Love. Any Tim McGraw and Faith Hill song, don't do it karaoke. Like any of that kind of stuff. I also think that Michael and Daniel, one of you said this about the being in the right key. I mean, people listen. I get it. Like you're not a professional singer. You're not up there to like impress anyone with your vocal talents, but at least know that you can get close to hitting the notes that are going to be in the song. You know what I mean? Like at least have sung the song enough times in your car that you know that you're not going to get to a place where you're absolutely like off the rails with trying to hit the notes. And also like the screen with the words, if you're going to sing karaoke, like use it, don't pretend like you know the words when you don't know the words, and don't also be like shy.
That's what it's there
to use
for.
it. Yeah. Don't be shy to use
got
the words.
You
like,
got the answers to the test, bro.
yeah, this isn't American Idol. This isn't American Idol.
That's right. Good call out, by the way. Stay away from Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. If you're going to do a duet with your significant other, go Islands in the Stream. Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, lay it down. Or Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Yes.
Marvin Gaye and
yes.
Tammy something, I think.
I mean, I would also say do y'all remember there was like a string of 90s songs that were just terrible? Like Tub Thumping. I get knocked out. Like, that dude, I've seen people try to sing. Y'all remember that? I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie. I've seen people try to sing like Barbie World at karaoke. Y'all,
can I get that clip, by the way?
You can never chastise me for saying anything out loud ever again.
I can't believe I just sang part of Barbie World.
You just went Barbie World.
That's getting clipped. Stop it. Any Sarah McLachlan song? No Sarah McLachlan. Dude, no one wants to hear In the Arms of an Angel. Like no one wants to hear that at karaoke.
We're about to have a karaoke session.
That's the song that you ride in the car. You cry it out, whatever you're going through. You just let it out. It's just you and your steering wheel and Sarah McLachlan, and you just let it go.
There you go.
And also, like, no one wants to hear American Pie at karaoke. Please, dear God. Like any song that's like 900 minutes long. And lastly, no, unless you are the actual Boyz II Men, no one wants to hear "I'll Make Love to You" at karaoke. Unless you are a Boyz II Men. But do not get up there. Be singing "I'll Make Love to You" unless you're actually.
But if you've got a solid quartet and you want to throw down some on bended knee, I support you. I'm there for it.
It would absolutely be a jam. Absolutely be a jam. All right, y'all. Any parting words to the people before we depart? Perfect. See y'all next week.
Karaoke appearance. should we have?
I have to check my schedule. Not this weekend. I've got something big going on this weekend, but it'll probably next weekend.
You let me know next time you're doing karaoke, and I will be there to bring people in because I'm not confident that people would stay to see that mustache singing karaoke. Unless there was somebody convincing them to stay. All right, y'all. That's the show. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, comment. We'll be back next week. We're actually going to be in the same geographic location, so we might try to record something all in the same room. You never know. Tune in to find out. We'll see y'all next time.